Everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack, and in this video, we'll be diving deep into the reworked champion point system coming now in 2021. This has just gone on to the PTS, and I've spent some time checking it out, and I want to give you all the details here in this video. The new system is pretty complex. It's detailed. It has layers to it. I'd say it's much more interesting than the previous version, Champion System 1.0 or whatever you want to call it. So you'll notice right away that it seems a little bit smaller, a little bit simpler. Instead of the 9 different constellations, we now have 3 constellations, and those are called Craft, Warfare, and Fitness. Now don't let the fact that there's only 3 of these constellations fool you. The system is actually a lot more complex than the previous system. Each of these has many more stars within that constellation itself, and then some constellations, and then some of these even have sub-constellations, which let you dive in deeper to uncover more stars. And the other thing about this too is this is just the beginning, you guys. They made this system very expandable for the future. So you'll see there's lots of empty spaces, lots of different layers that can be added over time. And so this system can be as customizable as they want to make it, really, and I think it's a great start. So let's check it out by first going into the Warfare constellation here. You can think of Warfare as having to do a lot with combat, whether that's dealing damage, healing, or dealing with your stats and resistances. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that there's different starting points to these constellations. You can see there are literally stars everywhere, but I can only start in certain places, okay? If I want to go up here, you can see I can click on it, nothing happens, right? I can't just jump to any star in the constellation that I want. I'm limited in my starting position, so I have to go to one of the stars that has either the plus or the minus symbol. These are basically your starting points. So we have a few stars here around the edges, and these are free floating, you guys. These are not connected to anything else. So for example, Arcane Supremacy, I get max magicka for every point that I spend. Then you have Untamed Aggression. This gives you weapon and spell damage for every point that you spend. And then Endless Endurance. This gives you max stamina for every point that you spend. So those are our free floating stars. Again, those aren't connected to anything else, and you can start putting points into those right away. Now, the other starting points that we have, you can see, are these 3 in the middle. We have Tireless Discipline. This gives us 260 max stamina. We have Precision, which gives us 160 critical. And then Eldritch Insight, this gives us 260 maximum magicka. Now, why are these inner stars important? Well, as I put in some points here, as I move up, you can see now I've unlocked even more stars inside of the constellation. And basically, I've started to unlock a path for myself to more stars or more perks, whatever you want to call them. So you can see that middle star unlocked all of these around the head of the constellation. Let's go ahead and reset that. If I start here on this side, you can see now I've unlocked the progression either leading to either of the hands. If I were to continue up on this staff, you can see now I've unlocked the progression up the staff. I have now 3 choices here. Let's say I take this lower star. Now I'm coming up the side, and then to finally make it all the way to the top of the staff, I can unlock this champion star, and now I have the final star on this side. So that's the first thing I really wanted you to notice, is that there is a flow here. There's a progression. You can't just really go around and pick and choose any star that you want. You're going to have to plan this and actually build up towards something, which is pretty interesting. Next, let's talk about the different types of stars here, okay? Because there are different things going on. First, let's talk about the gold-colored stars, okay? That's, for example, Blessed, Eldritch Insight. These are really just passive bonuses that you can add to your character, right? So Blessed, for example, this is actually from the CP 1.0 system, so you're probably familiar with it. As I add points here, and as I confirm it, now you can see I have some increased healing done. This is now going to be always on my character, no matter where I am. Now moving from there, let's look at a different type of star. This brighter, much brighter star here, and there's one here. And actually, these floating stars over here are also the more brighter type. This is a slottable star, you guys. And what that means is that I can put my points here and I can unlock it, but I don't gain the benefit until I actually slot this champion point star. So you may have noticed, I didn't mention it yet, but there is a champion bar here at the top of the screen now. And this is very similar to your action bar, your skill bar for slotting skills in the Elder Scrolls Online. It's essentially the exact same process. Let me just show you one, a different one, a little bit more obvious. So Rejuvenator grants 33 weapon and spell damage to your healing abilities per stage. Let me put some points into here. Confirm that. Okay, so this should be giving me weapon and spell damage to my character's healing abilities, right? But it says current bonus 0, and that's because I haven't slotted it yet. So if I click on this, I can now drag it into my hotbar for champion point stars. Put this in here, confirm it, and you can see now I'm getting 165 bonus weapon and spell damage because I have slotted this champion point. So that's the major change here. In fact, this is pretty much the whole point of the system, is you are going to have 4 active slots for each constellation, and then you're going to have many, many different options for what you put into these slots. And like we showed before, not everything needs to be slotted, okay? So these gold stars, you're always going to get the bonus for these no matter what. You put the points in, and you're good to go. But these other more bright stars, that's where you have the choice. Okay, maybe I want this. Maybe I want this one. And you can see I'm already almost out of slots to put my champion point stars. So that's how the champion bar works. Now, you probably noticed as well that there are no longer jump points in the champion 2.0 system. This is another thing that I like a lot, actually. Instead of jump points at those, random locations that a lot of people didn't even know existed, we now have stages. This essentially functions the same as a jump point did. You need to invest a certain amount of points before you get the benefit. So you can see I have to put in 10 points to clear the stage like that. And then I'll go ahead and confirm that one. And now I get the bonus. So very similar, basically the same as a jump point, but now it's just much, much clearer that you have to put in so many points. It's always the same amount of points for this particular star. It's like 10 points per stage. Some stars are 15 points per stage. Some are 25. Some have one stage that costs 100 points to go from stage 0 to stage 1. It just depends on that particular star. But to me, I like this a lot more. It's a lot cleaner. It makes a lot more sense. So we talked about the slottable stars. We talked about non-slottable stars, these golden ones. The last thing I want to talk about is these purple ones right here. And these are actually layers. So you can see these 2 purple stars right here. If I click on these will actually expand into another constellation where I then have further stars that I can invest into. Let me go ahead and respec to show you how this would work. So you can see, for example, if I went into, let's do Extended Might. If I went into Extended Might right away without investing any points, I can't do anything here. So remember, I have to go back to those starting points and invest my CP here to start with. So if I invest 10 points here, this unlocks the layered star, the extended star back here, the purple one. If I click this here, now I can put points into piercing. So this is where piercing ended up. And notice that I like this actually. Piercing is now offensive penetration. It's no longer spell or physical. It's just one stat. Awesome. I love it. So let's go ahead and invest to the first stage here. This is going to cost 50 points, okay? 50 points there. And now I've unlocked the 2 trees here going either way. So I can go with Flawless Ritual. This increases my chance to apply a magical status effect by 30% per stage. This is actually a pretty cool star. So you can see now I have a 150% chance to apply a status effect. That's actually really strong. And also note too, this one is passive, right? This is not one of those brighter ones. I don't have to slot this one. This I just get this all the time. Then I could go down here to War Mage. This gives me weapon and spell damage for my magical attacks. And then if you were more of the stamina build, you'd go this way. This is Battle Mastery. This gives you a chance to apply martial status effects. So those are going to be weapon-based status effects, things like Bleed, the new Sunder effect that we talked about in the other video, for example. You can increase those there. And then you have Mighty. Here's where Mighty ended up. 100 weapon and spell damage, 2 martial attacks. So again, those are physical, poison, disease, and bleed damage attacks. So hopefully you're still following along with me. I know it's completely brand new. We're all learning it for the first time. But so this was my sub-constellation. I can go back to the main constellation. I will show you there's one more sub-constellation in Warfare. It's right here. It's called Starving Death. And this is more of our like healing and defensive CP nodes here. So I can put a point there to expand it. Quick Recovery, that's healing taken. I can go over here for Hardy. That's martial attack, so protecting against physical, poison, disease, and bleed damage. Here's the elemental side, so protecting against magic, flame, frost, and shock. Here is Preparation, so that's just damage mitigation. And then up here you can see this one is a slotted champion star, so I'd have to put this on my bar. This would take up 1 ability, basically, and this is Resilience, so that's the crit resist bonus here. So currently there's only 2 sub-constellations that have been put in the game at this point. That's these 2. The other main constellations, the green and the red, don't have any yet. But again, they talked about this in the live stream. They're going to keep adding to this. You know, there's over 3,600 total CP points that are going to be available, in fact. So there's really so much more that they can do with this. And it's so cool so far. And just to give you a little bit more of an overview of this constellation and everything that's here, I won't be able to show you everything. We already looked at the staff on this side. This is definitely the healing sort of pathway. So you have, increase your healing done by AoE effects, increase your healing done with single target heals, increase your healing done with heal over time, and then those all culminate here. Foresight, after you drink a potion, the cost of your magicka and stamina healing abilities used within 6 seconds are reduced by 75%. Pretty cool. Over here on the top, we said this comes from Precision, so this gives you critical rating per stage. That's going to unlock those. And then these are more of the crit-focused stars on the top. So, for example, increases your crit damage and crit healing. You've got Backstab or crit damage done when you're flanking an enemy. That's pretty cool. You've got bonus weapon and spell damage. So there's a lot here. If you go with the other extended arm, if we went up this way, by the way, just so you can see the progression here, remember I have to go in here to the sub-constellation. As soon as I unlock one stage here, let me confirm that. Now I can extend up the rest of this arm, right? So you have more damage-focused stars over here. Deadly Aim, increase your damage done with single target attacks by 2% per stage. Here's our friend Thaumaturge, increase your damage done with dot effects, 2% per stage. And then Biting Aura, increase your damage done with area of effect attacks by 2% per stage. And then finally, if we went down here, and then started exploring the bottom area of this constellation, you have more of the defensive-oriented stars, right? Unassailable, this reduces your damage taken by AoE effects. Enduring Resolve reduces your damage taken by damage over time. Duelist Rebuff reduces your damage taken by single target attacks. So a lot of this makes sense. It's laid out really, really well just in this first constellation. I'll talk about the red tree next, but then just before we move on, a couple of really interesting star options here. I like the Reinforced star. When you begin bracing, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5,000 damage for 3 seconds. This is a lot like that Psijic Order passive for slotting Temporal Guard as your ultimate, right? It's very similar. And notice this is one of those slottable champion stars, so I'd have to drag it up in here. If this was my choice for one of my 4 warfare abilities, I'd have to put that in a slot here, and then I can actually use it. Let me show you what it looks like, actually. Confirm that. And you can see when I block, I get that free damage shield now from CP, so pretty cool there. Another one I really liked was Reaving Blows over here. When you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of the damage done. This is another slotted star. So you'd see I'd have to drag that up here. But now I'm going to get some healing back for all of my damage done, similar to like the Ring of the Pale Order, right? So that's going to be very nice for like PvP and soloing. Here's another interesting one, Occult Overload. Whenever you kill an enemy under the effect of a status effect, they violently explode for 2,000 Oblivion damage per stage. So 2 stages here, that's going to be 4,000 damage in a 4-meter radius. So that's another slottable one. I'd have to put that up there in order to get that to work. All right, let's talk about the red constellation over here called Fitness. We'll go through some of these. So similar to Warfare, we have these floating stars over here. These are not connected to anything, but you have rejuvenation, so extra health, magicka, and stamina recovery combined in one. It's pretty good. Ironclad is armor per stage. And then Boundless Vitality is max health. So we can do one of these. These free-floating ones seem to be capped at 50, by the way. So we'll go ahead and do that. Put this here. So 50 points into that guy, and we will have 1,400 extra health on our build for 50 champion points. It's pretty good. So to progress further through the tree, we're going to have to go with our starting stars. We have one here, one in the middle, and one over here. This area, this sword on the right side, this is more like blocking and bashing. So for example, Tireless Guardian reduces the cost of block by 20 stamina per stage. This feeds in, all of these values, by the way, fit in really well with the new advanced character sheet, the character stats. I want to show that to you guys in another video, maybe tomorrow. But if you're worried about keeping track of all of these different cost reductions, right, like 20 extra stamina, block cost reduction, all of these are going to be visible in your stat sheet too. So that works out really well. But let's go ahead and unlock the first stage here. So we can see more of these down here. Fortification increases the amount of damage you can block by 4% per stage. Nimble Protector increases your movement speed while blocking. On Guard, increase the amount of damage you can block. Reduce the cost of bash. And then there's actually one up here, so I have to go here, which will unlock the top star. Increase your bash damage by 120 per stage. 5 stages here. So 600 increased bash damage for 100 points. Let's go ahead and clear those out. Let's say we went this way from the middle this time. Sprinter. This reduces your cost of sprint by 20 stamina per stage. That's going to let us work our way up here into the main body of the constellation. Hasty increases your movement speed when sprinting by 2% per stage. This leads us to Hero's Vigor. This is more max health, passive max health, by the way. So you can put points. Check this out. If I did this, this is the same amount of health as this guy over here. 1,400 health here, 1,400 health here. I can get both if I want. So 2,800 extra max health on my build. Or I can just choose to do this one only because remember, this is a gold star. I don't have to waste one of my champion slots up here for this. This is just passive. Then you have just tons of other stuff in here. Some really cool ones actually. Like, for example, Survival Instincts. While affected by a status effect, your core combat skills cost 5% less per stage. You've got Spirit Mastery. Decrease the time it takes to resurrect an ally by 33%. That's passive as well. Strategic Reserve. Gain 50 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. And these sustain CP stars are actually really good. Look at these. Siphoning Spells. Restore 300 magicka per stage whenever you kill an enemy. There's 5 stages here. So that should be, what, 1,500 magicka back per enemy killed. Now, this is a slotted champion star, so I would have to put that on my bar in order to get that, but that is a lot of sustain. Look at that. Same thing here for stamina, exactly the same. Bloody Renewal. Those are really powerful. Now, your third option is to start over here with Tumbling. We're pretty familiar with this. I'm sure reduces the cost of dodge rolling by 120 per stage. You can come down here. This is actually pretty cool. Your next roll dodge is free of cost, and it has a 30-second cooldown. That's for 50 champion points. That's a slottable star right there. And then we can come over here to the left side. So Defiance reduces the cost of break free, and you can do that to unlock the rest of the left side. So Juggernaut, while immune to crowd control, you take 2% less damage per stage. You've got extra Magicka and health recovery, while immune to crowd control. We've got Hardened, increase the duration of time. You are immune to crowd control by 3% per stage. So hopefully that gives you kind of an overview of the fitness constellation, the red tree. And then let's check out the final one, Craft, which is our green constellation. So same thing before. We have some free floating stars out here. Steed's Blessing, increase your out of combat movement speed by 1% per stage. So this can be increased by 50 points. That would mean that we have 50% movement speed out of combat. Not in combat, but still 50% movement speed. Just moving around, doing our everyday stuff for only 50 champion points. Look at this. Pretty fast. That's pretty fast. That's a good one. Our other ones over here, Professional Upkeep reduces the cost of repairing your armor by 1% per stage, and Sustaining Shadows reduces the cost of sneak by 1% per stage. You can see this tree is basically going to be much more like utility focused, sneaking focused, crafting, obviously. So let's say we started over here on this arm. Break Fall reduces your fall damage taken by 7% per stage. We'll go ahead and do that. We could come down here. Soul Reservoir. When you resurrect yourself or another player, you have a chance to not consume a soul gem. And we could come up here to Wanderer. Reduces the cost of Way Shrine usage by 10% per stage. That can lead us up here. Steadfast Enchantment. Your weapon enchants decay 20% slower per stage. This is actually going to be really nice. So you can see I'd have 100% bonus there. For 100 points. Continuing up here, we have Treasure Hunter, and then Master Gatherer reduces the time it takes to harvest by 10% per stage. If we went with the middle, you've got Haggler, increases the cost which merchants buy goods from you, 2% per stage. And you can go straight up here, so Fortune's Favor, increases the amount of gold you find in treasure chests. Inspiration Boost, Disassembly, this improves the chances of extracting woodworking ingredients. Master Gatherer, Gifted Rider increases your mount speed by 2% per stage. War Mount, this increases your mastery with mounts, removing all stamina costs outside of combat for 120 points. That looks pretty good. Let me clear those out one more time. If we went on this side, Fleet Phantom reduces the movement penalty for sneak. Out of Sight reduces the radius you can be detected while sneaking. Friends in Low Places removes 1,000 gold from your bounty once per day when committing a crime where bounty is added. And then this will just go around either this way, or you can take the shortcut up to the top again. But over here, we have more of those like thievery-focused champion point stars. For example, Infamous increases the value of fenced items by 15%. Shadow Strike, this actually works with the Blade of Woe, which is pretty interesting. After you kill an enemy with the Blade of Woe, you become invisible for 5 seconds after a short delay while distracting nearby enemies or potential witnesses. That's definitely interesting. I'm curious to see how that works. Higher quality loot while pickpocketing. Fade Away, escaping from a guard wipes 25% of your current heat, but not bounty. And then actually I missed some of my favorite ones. Let me clear this out one more time because I like this side of the tree a little bit more. So if I went here, this one's a little bit harder to get to. Okay, down here, Rationer. I do like this one. Adds 10 minutes to the duration of any eaten food or drink per stage. And this has 3 stages. So this is slottable. So now I'm adding 30 minutes to my food and drink duration. I do like that one. And then I like this one as well. Liquid Efficiency. Whenever you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance not to consume it. That's another slottable one there. You also have even some fishing champion point stars here. Increases your chance of catching a higher quality fish. Reel Technique decreases the time it takes for a fish to bite by 25%. even some things having to do with housing. So there's literally everything, you can do in the game is found in this one. So that's very cool. So all in all, I think the system is really good. And keep in mind, this is just the start of it, you guys. They can add so many more layers, so many more sub-constellations to this, that this can really expand over time to give us more customization options for builds. And already there's some really good options there. If you'd like to see more information on Champion Point System 2.0, I'll have a link down below to my website, hacktheminotaur.com. I am working on a written guide for all of these. It's going to take me a little bit of time, obviously, because there's so much here. I think there's something like 100 Champion Point stars now. Much, much more than the Champion System 1.0, that's for sure. But hopefully this video guide was helpful for you guys. Of course, if it was, don't forget to crush that like button for me. And let me know what you guys think of the new Champion Point system in the comment section below. Of course, for more Elder Scrolls Online content just like this, make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you're doing well, stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.